the album was written last year, so you've sort of been sat on it a little bit. So what have you been doing in this strange pandemic time for a band that has been constantly on the road? What have you been doing to fill your time suddenly?
We had to postpone the album because, the world changed overnight. But, most of it was written before last year. So we were able to incorporate 2 more tracks onto the album over the course of 2020, which is what we wanted to have, a 12-song album. And with touring, it looked like there'd only be time to fit in 10 tracks in the studio.
What were those 2 additional songs, by the way? Which were
Caravel and the Barbarians. Those are the 2. And those were written in 2020. We thought, that belongs perfectly in the universe of this album. So we went in and did that. We got in an RV and we took it across the country. We went from Nashville to Los Angeles. And that was really strange. It's kind of definitely my way soon, and just finished up the album. And so that was interesting, a little adventure. So that's kind of the stuff we've been doing. I think we've been keeping rather busy. We've been playing the hell out of the album and just writing new stuff, and obviously not 2 people, but we look forward to doing it when we can, I guess.
So you feel tour ready if you've been playing this album through a lot? Do you feel like it's ready to get out there for audiences as soon as you can?
I think so. I think we feel pretty confident about it. Everybody's playing every instrument with every limb. It's good.
It's a very difficult album to translate to the live setting.
Because there's such a lot of space in each song, if you get what I mean. Like sonically, it seems a lot bigger than anything you've previously done.
Yeah, it's been a creative challenge to play it live, but it's been pretty good,
Can we touch on the fact that The Barbarians was written like one of your most recent songs? Because there's some lyrics in that I really want to know a bit more detail about, because I've sort of interpreted this in a political way, and this could be totally wrong, but funeral of innocence, painted up in red, dressed in lead, to me seemed like a little bit of a nod to maybe the Republican Party. And is that just me having a guess, or is that something you were thinking?
That's an interesting interpretation. No, that wasn't the intention when I was writing that. I think it was sort of blood of innocence, dressed in red. That's sort of that kind of thing, the death of innocence.
Yeah, sure.
But you can look at it as you can also look at it as Russia, years ago too, or who knows what, right? It's kind of interesting, It's a bit of a vague line.
Yeah, well, you guys
I like that interpretation. It's interesting.
Yeah, well, that's what, because I thought you guys got a little bit political recently. I saw it on your Instagram. Can we just explain that picture a little bit? Can we?
Yeah,
the reason why the bums are out.
Yeah, we thought we'd do something cheeky. No, I think if somebody says, drop your pants, it'll be iconic. And then we laughed. And then before you know it, it was really interesting. You just had to make sure that there wasn't an RV full of, we were at Idlewild, when we were doing that shoot. And there were families in RVs that would come around the corner, we'd have to kind of go, is the coast clear, And we go, there's somebody, like dad driving the RV. Look, kids, there's the locals,
Well, I have to say, Greta Van Fleet as a band, lovely bums. And it's a lovely little caption. Don't be an ass, vote. So I think, you know what? You've done your bit for society there. You don't need to release the album.
Who to vote for. We're just telling them to vote,
I think this is the tour poster, really. I think this will bring in the crowds. I'm not going to lie. I printed it out. It's on my wall in my room, just for me.
I'm sure somebody's done that, right?
Full blown up. Thank goodness. We spent a long time.
Yeah, we're not going to, those asses aren't going to look like that, years from now. So I don't know, maybe when we're like fat and irrelevant, we can recreate that photo.
The before and after shot. And speaking of like irrelevance and stuff, like I don't think you see this, but every time Gene Simmons seems to open his mouth, seems to say rock music is dead. Like you're probably sick of hearing this, sick of fighting the fight. But what you got to say about this?
Maybe the world of rock he remembers is dead. I don't know. I think rock and roll is a very elastic genre. It's a very eclectic genre. It seems like every once in a while a generation reinterprets what that is. And I've heard a lot, throughout the years of, I guess, people blowing hot air about. I think rock and roll can become dormant, but you can't kill something like that sort of supersedes time. It's an attitude and a spirit and a celebration. And so I don't know. I think people pass the torch and time rolls on. And I think there's probably a lot of people that would disagree with them, Elton John is one, I'm certain. I mean, I've heard it come out of his mouth.
I trust Elton John more.
I do too, you know.
You got to trust Elton John. You got to trust the man. I mean, you've had a lot of like famous fans, and obviously, like probably the albatross around your neck has been the comparisons to Led Zeppelin so constantly. I mean, I'm sure it's meant in a lovely way, and it is astounding. But have you heard Robert Plant's opinion on you guys before?
Well, I don't know. Through the grapevine, I hear that he really does kind of appreciate what we're doing. You know, I'd like to sit down and have a chat with him. You know, but
you can make that happen. He actually, I saw in an interview, I think it was 2018. He said, "You guys are so annoyingly talented, and Josh in particular, he hates you because of your voice. He said it's not fair." So it's nice to have a little bit of hate from a rock and roll legend, I'd say.
I would think so. Yeah,
Sweet.
no, he's lovely, you know, and yeah, he's been an influence. But you know, I think amongst many others, you know, I think Aretha Franklin is a big one, and Sam and Dave, and Wilson Pickett is a huge one, and even Joe Cocker and stuff like that. So yeah, but he fits in perfectly, and he was doing something very different, you know, and kind of broke things wide open, and it was powerful and unique. And acrobatic in a way.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to channel some of that on stage. Clearly, it has to be done. That bare chest energy, you need it sometimes.
Yeah, you do.
But who else has been an influence on this album in particular? Maybe not on the other albums.
I don't know. I almost should, but
See, well, that's a really good question, because we kind of abandoned this kind of conscious idea of consciously being inspired by someone. And that's kind of why I say that it's our coming of age album, is because this one's like
abandoned
Greta Van
specific influence, right?
Yeah,
Just
this
kind
is
of go
the Greta
into the
Van
night.
Fleet album. I really feel that it's difficult to say, perhaps a little Pink Floyd, or
Yeah,
I've heard
you can
people
hear
say,
things in there.
Yeah,
that probably will.
but I would certainly say that this is moreover a Greta Van Fleet album.
Well, it certainly sounds that way. And it's one thing I read in an interview, because I had no idea you guys knew about it, but you said one of the collaborations you'd love to do would be with Florence and the Machine.
I love them.
like, how did you first stumble upon Florence and the Machine, and why, out of all the people, would you want to collaborate with Florence?
Well, I love her voice, and I love her presence on stage, and I think that's another good example of why, you know, rock and roll isn't dead, because there's something really unique and honest and raw, you know, and that they're channeling. And as far as the live performance is concerned, that's all live music. Those are great musicians and a great live rock and roll act.